Hello, my dear curious and studious students of surgery. Myself, Dr. Mahesh Chaudhary. I am warm welcoming you in my surgery lecture series. This surgery lecture series contains entire surgery with anesthesia, with radiology, with orthopedic. So stay tuned with us. Let's start our surgery lecture series. Welcome, dear students, in my surgery lecture number 112, that is the cleft lip and cleft palate. In this lecture, we will explore the embryology in short of lip and palate, classification of cleft lip, treatment of cleft lip, types of the cleft palate, problems with cleft palate and treatment of cleft palate. All these points are covered in this lecture. Now start with me the cleft lip and cleft palate. Firstly, we see the embryology of the lip and the palate. The face is formed by 5 processes which surrounds the opening, the stomodium at the anterior end of the embryo. These 5 processes are: first is the frontonasal process at the upper and central part, it is a single process. Maxillary processes at the upper and lateral part of the face, one on each side. Mandible processes at the lower lateral aspects of the face, one on each side. In this way, these are the 5 processes which form the face. First, frontonasal process. Due to the appearance of the olfactory pits at 5th week, one on each side of the midline at the inferior aspect of the frontonasal process, the process is divided into a central part called median or medial nasal process MNP and 2 lateral parts called the lateral nasal processes LNP. The olfactory pit is destined to form the nostrils. Medial nasal process and globular nasal process form the septum of the nose and the philtrum of the upper lip and the premaxilla. Lateral nasal process form the side of the nose. It does not take any part in the formation of the upper lip. Maxillary process form the cheek, the whole of the upper lip is except the philtrum, most of the upper jaw and the palate. Mandibular process form the lower jaw. The upper lip is thus formed centrally from the superficial part of the medial nasal process, which is called the philtrum. Lateral formed by the maxillary process from each side, which fuses with the medial nasal process. The palate develops from these 3 components: premaxilla, which is developed from the median nasal process, 2 palatine process of the maxilla coming one from each side and fuse in the midline, and also with the premaxilla to form the palate. Defect in this fusion will lead to the development of the cleft palate. Now, the cleft lip. Developmental error in the formation of the upper lip will lead to the formation of the cleft lip. Classification of this cleft lip is maybe centrally, that is very rare. It is due to the failure of the fusion of the 2 bulbous extremities of the median nasal process, that is the globular processes. And second is the lateral, the common variety. It is the cleft between the philtrum, the central part of the upper lip formed by the MNP. MNP means the medial nasal process, and the lateral part of the upper lip formed by the maxillary process. The cause is imperfect fusion of the median nasal process with the maxillary process. Remember that the lateral nasal process is not all concerned, as the lateral variety is much more common. The condition should be called cleft lip and not the hair lip, as the typical hair lip is a midline variety. Lateral variety may be unilateral, which is a commoner, or bilateral, which is a rare. Dear students, here is a good picture showing the unilateral, which is the common lateral variety of the cleft lip, is clearly seen on your image, and these are next images. These are the varieties of the cleft lip. Unilateral cleft lip and bilateral cleft lip is clearly seen. Next type is the cleft lip may be incomplete and complete. Incomplete, in which the cleft has not extended up to the nostril and the upper part of the lip has fused normally. Complete, in this case, cleft lip extends to the floor of the nose. This is often associated with flattening and widening of the nostril of the affected side. And the third type is the cleft lip may be the simple and compound. Simple and compound when the cleft lip is associated with the cleft in the alveolus, that is the compound cleft lip. And fourth type is the cleft lip may be the uncomplicated or complicated. Complicated, that is associated with either cleft alveolus and or cleft palate. The complete cleft lip may be complicated, whereas there is no chance of an incomplete cleft lip to be complicated. Upper cleft lip may be occasionally associated with the presence of 2 small blind tubes in the lower lip. These are lined with squamous epithelium. These often show hereditary tendency. These are called inferior labial sinuses or mandibular recesses. The etiology of this is unknown. The lower cleft lip is extremely uncommon. If it is occurs, it is usually central due to the failure of fusion of the two mandibular processes. Now the problem with cleft lip, these are the cosmetic problem. It looks ugly, difficult in sucking as the patient takes a substantial part of the areola as well as the nipple into its mouth. Sucking becomes difficult to a certain extent but not greatly. For bottle feeding, the whole of the teeth should be the enlarged with a red hot needle. Defective dentition, teeth may come out through the gap, so dental irregularity is obvious. Defective speech, particularly with the labial letter, that is the B, F, M, P, V, and the next problem with the cleft lip is the deformed nostril. Now the treatment, optimum time for repair. It is generally advisable to perform the operation at the age of the 3 months when the baby is 5 to 6 kg in weight. This is always performed before the time of primary dentition to avoid the defective dentition. If the patient comes late, operation should be performed but the final result may not be satisfactory. If there is any protruded tooth which may cause pressure on the suture line, it should be extracted. This time is preferred as the lip is larger and thick at this age so that the technically repair will be easier. The baby is sufficient to accept the general anesthesia and operative assault. Feeding with dropper in the post-operative period is not difficult. If it facilitates sucking, it helps in developing of the alveolus. In case of the cleft alveolus, early operation helps in closure of the alveolar gap. Defective speech is avoided. When the cleft lip is associated with the cleft palate, early reconstruction of the lip will reduce the gap in the palate. Dear students, here is the images showing the technique of the operation, that is the Miralt-Blair operation. This operation is performed in 3 stages. All these 3 stages are clearly shown in this image, and the lower one image showing how to repair unilateral cleft lip by the Miralt-Blair technique. Lower figure shows a typical case of the unilateral cleft lip. Again, this image shows the steps of the Millard rotation advancement repair. Image A showing the comparatively easier technique fixed with a notch in the anterior aspect of the nasal septum. The repair of the cleft is performed in the same way as the unilateral cleft. Now the technique of operation. These are the numerous techniques by which these defects can be closed by the plastic surgery. The operation advocated by the Miralt, which was modified by Blair, is widely practiced for unilateral cleft lip, and as we see the images in previous slides. Another technique which was advocated by Millard is a popular alternative method, Miralt-Blair operation. This operation is performed in 3 stages. In the first stage, adequate mobilization of the lip lateral to the cleft, the ala of the affected nostril and a considerable part of the cheek is performed. This is done to avoid the tension on the suture line after plastic repair. The lip is everted and an incision is made in the groove between the lip and the maxilla. The flap is dissected off the maxilla of considerable distance. Bleeding is checked by the firm pressure with gauze. And in the second stage, the margins are made raw by cutting of the whole thickness of the lip. The margins are cut in the fashion as shown in the figure previously we see in the slide. To facilitate this cutting is particular fashion and for proper plastic repair, an ink mark is first made on the lip. In the third and the last stage of this operation of Miralt-Blair, the skin flaps are sutured in such a manner that the continuity of the red margins of the lip is properly maintained. A rubber tube of the proper size is introduced through the nostril first, and then the repair is started. The mucous membrane and the muscles are sutured separated with chronic catgut. The skin is sutured with the fine silk or a nylon. The gap of the floor of the nostril must be repaired. Correction of the deformity of the nostril should also be done. If there is associated alveolar cleft, it need not be repaired, as orbicularis oris is effectively reconstructed obliterates the alveolar gap simultaneously. Now the operation for the bilateral cleft lip. Sometimes both the maxillary processes fail to fuse with the medial nasal process, which form the philtrum. The philtrum with the premaxilla then projects towards for a little distances. In this case, the premaxilla has to be pushed back to the fix with the notch in the anterior aspects of the nasal septum. The repair of the cleft is performed in the same way as the unilateral cleft. Here is a picture showing the steps of the Millard rotation advancement repair, a comparatively easier technique. Now the cleft palate. Palate is developed from 3 components. the premaxilla developing from the medial nasal process, that is the MNP, and it bears the incisor teeth and the two palatine processes, one from each maxillary process. The line of the fusion is in the form of Y. Cleft palate is due to the failure of the fusion of these three processes. Cleft palate may be complete or incomplete. Complete, there is a gap between the two halls of the palate in its entire length, so that the nose and the mouth become interconnected. In front, this gap may pass on one side of the premaxilla or on both sides. In the latter cases, the premaxilla is not attached to the palate but hangs down from the septum of the nose some distance in front of the anterior to where it ought to be. Now the incomplete, the two halls of the palate fuse together from before backward. The last parts to fuse are the two halls of the uvula. Incomplete fusion thereof may be, but that is the bifid uvula, the whole length of the soft palate, the whole length of the soft palate and the posterior part of the hard palate. In incomplete cleft palate, the anterior part of the palate is always normally formed. Dear students, here is the image on your screen you are watching. The incomplete cleft palate and the technique of its operative closure is clearly seen in this image. This is the color picture on your screen showing the cleft palate, and the suturing operative closure is in the second image you are clearly seen. Now the problems with the cleft palate, and these are the difficulties in sucking. The negative pressure which is required for sucking cannot be produced by the child, so spoon feeding is to be resorted to. Second is the difficulty in eating. Regurgitation of food into the nose makes eating difficult, but adults are seen with the cleft palate who have grown up without surgery and are well nourished. And third is the difficulty in speech. A person with cleft palate is unable to pronounce the palatal consonants, and these are the B, D, K, P, T. There is a nasal intonation, that is the rhinophonia. This is due to the fact that air comes out through the nose while talking. Difficulty in hearing. If palatal repair is not done, acute or chronic otitis media may develop. Inflammatory edema of the pharyngeal mucosa and defective muscular activity will impede the ventilation and drainage of the middle ear through the eustachian tube. This may lead to the accumulation of the inflammatory exudate and deafness. Next problem with the cleft palate is the dental problems. Various problems of the dentition may be due to the irregular development of the alveolar. The alveolar cleft interferes with the dental lamina, and the upper lateral incisors may be small, absent or even duplicate. All the incisors are the badly displaced in the bilateral cleft. Relative mandibular prognathism may also result. Next problem with the cleft palate is the defect in the smelling. This is due to the contamination of the nasal mucosa membrane with the oral organism through the cleft palate. And next problem is the repeated respiratory tract infection, and last is there may be the chance of the aspiration bronchopneumonia. Now the treatment of the cleft palate is the optimum time for operation is the repair should be carried out at the age of the 1 and 1.5 years, that is before the child acquires the bad habit of nasal speech. Some surgeons prefer early repair of the cleft palate as they think that the children start making efforts to produce the understandable sounds earlier. But early repair may lead to the maldevelopment of the maxilla in later life. So closure of the hard palate defect should not be performed till the facial development as well advanced, that is till the time of the secondary dentition. Now the operation for repair, first is the Langenbeck's operation. In this operation, the margins of the cleft are paired. The nasal septum is defined and separated off the upper surface of the cleft palate. The mucoperiosteal flaps are lifted up from the hard palate with a suitable respiratory. Two release incisions are made on one on each side, just medial to the alveolar margins. The mucoperiosteal flaps are mobilized till the release incisions are reached. The cleft is then repaired in the midline by bringing in the mucoperiosteal flaps and the nasal mucosa medially. Repair is done in 3 layers: nasal mucosa, the soft palate muscles, and interrupted catgut sutures, and mucoperiosteal flaps and interrupted silk suture. And second is the Wardill's operation, that is the 4-flap operation. The main problem of this Langenbeck's operation is tension in the suture line. Slightly tension at the suture line will lead to failure of the union due to the loss of the vascularity and necrosis of the mucoperiosteal flap. Moreover, the length of the palate remains short and repair is Langenbeck's operation. So nasal speech continues to be present in the Langenbeck's operation. And these are the reasons why the Wardill's 4-flap operation has become more popular than the previous one, that is the Langenbeck's operation. The modification of this operation by the Wardle's that is the 4 flap operation. The 2 flaps of the cleft palate are divided obliquely up to the releasing incision just medial to the alveolar margin. So that 4 flaps are available, the anterior 2 flaps are brought to the midline and sutured. Now the posterior 2 flaps are not only brought to the midline but also pulled posteriorly to lengthen the palate, as we see in the previously slide images. This operation definitely increases the length of the palate so that the space between the oropharynx and the nasopharynx is diminished. The flaps, whenever sutured, should be done in 3 layers. The nasal mucosa is sutured with fine catgut. The muscles of the soft palate are sutured with number 0 catgut, whereas the mucoperiosteal flap of the buccal side is sutured with the fine silk. All sutures should be interrupted. Tension at the suture line is further reduced by the breaking the Heimlich process on each side, thus relaxing the tensor palatal muscles. Dear students, here is the end of our surgery lecture number 112, that is the cleft lip and cleft palate. Thank you.